You know, that's an interesting question with a lot of debate. Just how old are the main six? Get your kid ass out of here. Hello! I'm Discord Jedi Knight. I got into this topic a while ago, but at the time, one of the best MLP YouTubers made their own video. Maybe you've seen it. If you haven't, go check it out. It's a great video, and I like their theory on it. However, I actually disagree with them on how old these characters are, but I didn't want to put out a copycat video, so I put this idea on the back burner until now. My Little Pony, for good reason, never specifies ages. After all, it's a magical world, and you should be able to reimagine the characters any way you like. Due to this, My Little Pony has a plethora of fanfictions some arguably shouldn't exist, but whatever. You do, I guess, but I do have to admit how disgusting of a website fanfiction is when you turn on mature mode. No comment here. Anyway, let's take this from the top and establish what we do actually know about My Little Pony ages. And what we know for downright certain are only three things. Number 1, Fluttershy is a year older than Pinkie Pie. Number 2, they do have birthdays, so they are getting older. The question is just how old, but they don't live in Cartoon World where their ages never change. After all, MLP doesn't really go by a sun calendar, but instead uses a moon calendar. I think the reasoning is, 1, to be magical and different, and 2, it's probably left over from the first draft of MLP, where the unicorns were more involved in worshipping the day and night, something more prominent than what we have now. Come to think of it, though, if Celestia and Luna took the roles of the sun and moon, then what did the unicorns contribute to Equestria afterward? A question for another day. But let's stick to the topic. The third thing we know is that they are adults. Good question. Let's look at the facts, shall we? The size difference between ages. Yes, I know ponies come in all shapes and sizes for the most part. MLP does a pretty good job of giving some characters unique figures and size configurations. But one thing they mostly stake insistence on is, if a pony is this tall or taller, they are an adult. Yeah, I know if you remember what I said in that video. I mentioned Cozy Glow might be a teenage pony who's really short, and most teens are always shorter on the show, with young kids being even smaller. That's dragons, not ponies. Spike, he's a child, not a baby. Though that is a good point, let's start there. I believe Spike is a child. He was hatched when Twilight was a filly, and he did grow as she matured. The main question, there are some facts we can use to support this idea. But I have to admit it's all speculation. Still, let's go with the fact. Kids usually don't go through puberty until at the earliest stage 12, and typically between 12 and 19. Spike goes through puberty in the later seasons of the show, and judging based on how old you think the show takes place, that gives you your answer. Yes, I think the show takes place about 3 to 4 years after the beginning. Why? Because I think if Spike was around 10 at the start, then by the end of the show, he'd be 13 or 14, perfectly still young enough to not change too much in height, but old enough to go through the full dragon molting stage. If that's the case, and the show only takes place over a few years, it also explains why none of the ponies, not even the kids, seem to change all that much. The fact is, and this is just my experience, I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but I was the second shortest kid in my class, and only the second because I had a classmate with dwarfism. Otherwise, I was short and didn't grow more than a few inches until I hit puberty at 15, then shot up to 6 feet. No, I'm 5'10", but I'm gross. Anyway, the point is, it's a good example of how you can remain very short and not change size for a long time. Spike could be in the same situation as I was, not growing and not going to shoot up till after puberty. And it also explains why the other kids like the CMC, or the Cake Wins, don't grow much either. The CMC are simple despite how some people think they are the same age as Spike. I'd argue Spike actually shows a bit more maturity than they do. Not much, but enough to suggest he's older. If Spike is 10 to 13, it'd say the CMC are 8 to 11, keeping them still short and young enough not to go through puberty at the end of the show, thus preventing them from changing size all that much. No, I don't think they're 5. It's just too young for the antics they get up to. Good question. What about the main 6? Well, judging by size comparison, I'd say when they got their ass stats, they were around the same age as the MC. So if Twilight was around 9 when Spike was born, and now he's 10, simple math suggests Twilight is about 19. That makes perfect sense. Chronologically speaking, but she definitely seems like she's in college years at the very beginning of the show. She's barely an adult, but she knows her way around. She lives on her own and is old enough to take a trip out of town by herself. Think about it. Do you think Celestia would send a teenage pony to Ponyville and supervise, miles away from Canterlot? No, I don't think so. And no, sending Spike a child younger than her is not supervision either. And the same goes for the other ponies. Rarity, Twilight, and Pinkie are all the same age, followed by Rainbow Dash and Applejack. Fluttershy is the oldest. People want to think she's the youngest because of how shy she is, but there is evidence that shows that's not the case. In the flashback to when she got her mark, Fluttershy was always drawn just a little larger than Ash and the other main 6, hinting at the fact that she is at least a young teen and thinking 14 when everyone else is around 9. Thus, this would make her 24 or 25 when the show starts. And that makes even more sense when you factor in that, despite her overall shyness, Fluttershy often shows a more maternal and mature side than any of the main 6. She often doesn't portray the same crazy antics as the others do. Granted, that changes when she's able to come out of her shell and let loose with Discord, but even so, she seems to be the most mature of the group. I know you'd argue Applejack is, but I'd argue against that. Due to her stubborn nature, she just seems more mature because from a young age, she always had to pick up the slack the loss of her parents gave her for her family. It's time to address that little fork in the road. The show that ruined the entire chronological reasoning, Equestria Girls. Some claim that because Equestria Girls features Twilight, Sunset Shimmer, and the rest of the main 6 as teens in high school, it proves that Twilight and the main 6 are indeed that young. But my argument against this is that it doesn't actually solve the issue. Because, sorry, you wouldn't let a teenager in high school live on their own, or move out of town, by themselves. Equestria Girls makes absolutely no sense except as an alternate dimension. Are 2 problems with the same age as Equestria Girls thinking. First, it's explicitly established as a different universe. Equestria Girls is not NLP. They exist in the same multiverse, parallel to each other, with other dimensions as established in the comics. But the fact is, they are not the same universe. The very laws of physics are different. In one universe, Spike is a dragon. In the other, he's a dog. Ponies versus humans. A pony at the age of 16 is not the same as a teenage human. According to a quick Google search, ponies are considered to be in their prime. During the age of 16, prime humans are typically between ages 20 and 40, so a pony equivalent to a human age 16 is 100% an adult, no, not a child at all. Twilight and her pony friends are definitely not kids. And then don't get me started on the Princess Sisters versus their human counterparts. They definitely didn't live to be over 1,000 years. And then there's Discord then. He's lived for at least 1,000 years, so how old is he? What age is he? Problem. You people think he ages? Discord is an immortal god. Gods do not age. Discord doesn't have an age. Age is ageless. In much mythology, gods fall in love with mortal beings and have kids all the time. So yeah, he could totally date a 25-year-old Fluttershy, who is a pony, and it's not creepy at all. Because even if she's 16, she's a 16-year-old pony, and that is an adult. But thanks for bringing that whole debate up, G, for. But anyway, back to the main topic. 2. A totally different universe with different laws of physics can't be directly compared to a world with magical ponies, so Twilight and her friends are not teens, they are young adults. And the show spans only a few years, despite having 9 seasons. There is way too much evidence to think of them as kids. At the end of the day, here's how I think it through logically. It's always fun to overthink things and dive deep into theories. But no matter what, the show's writers left it open-ended so anyone can imagine the characters at any age they like, and the true value of the show is in the lessons and morals that connect with us. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think the LP characters' ages are. And with that, said like, share, subscribe, and go ahead and check out this video on how to fix Celestia as a character. Don't forget, my friends, Fluttershy is a year older than Pinkie Pie, and friendship is magic.